Awesome. Thank you so much, JC. Hi, everybody. I'm happy that you're all joining us. This is a particularly interesting and fun experience today. I met Laura Brennan in 2017. Some of you might remember we did a pitching and networking workshop at the Egyptian Theater that year. And let's say it would be an understatement to say it was great. It was a big success. It was amazing. In our community, we had so much great feedback coming in, and I personally could experience it too. So now time has passed, and we wanted Laura to come back and teach us a little bit more. When you look at her website, pitchingperfectly.com, and when you read her testimonials, people call her the pitch whisperer. Others say, and I personally like that, I wrote it down, Laura teaches you to sell fire in hell. Not bad. I like that. But what she really wants us to take away from this today is that Laura Brennan helps people talk about themselves and their projects. And I feel like, especially in our German community, it's hard to talk about yourself. She has worked with writers, production companies, Netflix executives, even CEOs and nonprofits to just help them pitch their projects, hone their TED Talks, and make a difference for them and a difference in the world. Tonight, she's going to help us a little bit to discover how to pitch our strengths and how to feel comfortable to pitch our strengths, because I think that is the most important thing for us Germans, because we tend to under pitch ourselves. We tend to be really, really bad about being proud of our accomplishments. So welcome, Laura. I'm happy that you're back and you give us the opportunity to work with you again. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so happy to be here. So I'm just going to get started on this. I'm going to start with the PowerPoint, but I will come back to, to you. It's Pitching Your Strengths with me, Laura Brennan. Questions. So you're going to have questions as I go, and that is awesome. Just don't put them in the chat because I can't read the chat and teach at the same time. I have tried to do that. It's like walking and chewing gum for me. I like fall over. It's not going to work. So instead, if you have a question, just unmute yourself or hit the clap button, the little clap thing, which is down under reactions. And I will see your little hand, or more likely someone else will see your little hand for me and let me know to call on you. And that's fine. I have no problem taking questions at any point. So just feel free. I'll also take questions at the end though, too, if you would rather hang out. And I'm going to be asking you to work with me several different times. So don't be shocked when I really want you to play with me. Okay, who am I, right? So my friends call me the goddess of pitching, which is lovely and very flattering and not quite true, because really I am the goddess of structure, right? But as long as I get the goddess part right, then I am good with that. That's fine. I'm good at pitching because I'm good at structure. Pitching is just a very highly structured conversation. It is giving people the information they need to hear in order so that they can hear it. Right? Our brains are very persnickety, right? They want to hear what they're going to hear and not be surprised by it. And if you surprise someone, you lose them. So what I do is I try to take all the surprise away and just make sure that you're saying what you need to say in the right order in a way that carries. That's what I do. Networking is, I think, the most important thing that you can do for your career. It's amazing. Right? But most people hate networking. In fact, Sartre very famously said that hell is other people, right? And that's basically what we think of networking. Most people just dread it, right? But the science is against that. The science tells us that networking can help you find a job. It can help you find love. It can make you happier. It can help you actually live longer. And it can make your projects move forward, right? So given all of that, given that it makes our dreams come true, why don't we network? And we don't network for two reasons. And the first is that we believe the bad press that networking has gotten, right? We think that when we're networking, when we're pitching, especially ourselves, but also our projects, we think that we're like the used car salesman, right? There's something kind of sleazy, kind of wrong, kind of weird about talking about ourselves and our projects. Nothing could be further from the truth. And here is the thing, and this is the keys to the kingdom, right? If you get this, it will transform your ability to pitch just this one thing. And that is, when you're pitching, you are never selling. Never. You will never walk up to someone and say, you know, famously, something like, speed is die hard on a bus, right? And they will hand you a check. That never happens. You're never selling. What you're doing is you're opening up your toy box, right? You are showing the world your strengths, your commitments, your passion, and your projects that you really care about. And you just are seeing if they want to play with you or not. That's all you're doing. And if you could look at pitching that way, instead of trying to think of it as something salesy, this will transform your ability to go out in the world and pitch. And it'll transform your life. All right, the second reason that we don't pitch, and this is what I'm going to be focusing on tonight, is that we have no good answer to, so what do you do? Right? People hate that. So what do you do? And that is where I'm going to start today. I'm going to start with working on how you answer that question, really how you pitch yourself, how you answer that question. So what do you do? So I'm going to stop the share right now, and I'm going to be able to see you. Okay. Somebody else, do I admit them? Somebody else has entered it. Hello. Okay, great. Fabulous gallery view. Oh, look at you all. This is amazing. Okay. So how do you, here's what we do wrong. Let me start by just saying here's what we do wrong, and then I'll work with you to show what we do right. What we do wrong is when somebody says, so what do you do? What we do is we answer with our job title, right? And whether your job title is VP of marketing or writer or heaven forfend stand-up comic, they have no idea what that means, right? And so what they will do is they will ask the worst possible question. Answer with a job title, unless you happen upon somebody else who also happens to be a stand-up comic, right? What they will say to you is, stand-up comic, say something funny. You do not want to be there, right? You do not want to be there. That is not going to be a fun conversation on your end. If you're a writer, they generally say something like, oh, have you written anything I've read? Or have you written any movies I've seen? And since, unless you're Stephen King, the answer to both of those questions is no. Again, there's no conversation that comes out of that. And it works for anything. Like, it's not just a creative endeavor. If you're, you know, if your job is CFO, right? Unless you're also in that realm, you don't know what that means. You don't know what your day-to-day is. And so they will ask a dumb question. They will ask, oh, are you a CPA, right? They'll ask something really, like, because they don't understand. So you've either confused them, or if it's a skill like stand-up comedian, like that's generally known, they'll want to co-opt it, right? They'll want to go straight to that. And in neither of those possibilities is there any place for connection, right? There's no connection there. So you never ever want to answer that question with a job title. So what do you do is now no longer related to your job title. How do you answer it then? What you do, the simplest way, there's a bunch of different ways, but the simplest way is to answer it with a project. So what do you do? This is a project that I had a student who was a stand-up comedian. That's where I got the whole say something funny from. That is actually from life. That's what people would say to him. It made him crazy, right? And so with him, instead of saying I'm a stand-up comedian, he would say, so what do you do? Well, right now I'm putting together a fundraiser. I'm putting together a fundraiser. Let's see, he used comedians in it. I'm putting together a fundraiser starring 15 different stand-up comics to raise money for St. Jude's Hospital, right? or I think it was childhood cancer, actually, is what it was. That's what he was working on at the time. Oh my gosh, isn't that interesting? Like, doesn't that lead to a good conversation? So, and then they get to feel smart, and then they're like, oh, are you a comedian? Right? They get to feel like, oh, and they get to connect over what it is you're doing in the world. So that's what you want. You want a project that you're working on. And the project could be your day job, right? It could be the actual, if you're a CFO, you could, well, actually, I don't know very much what a CFO does, but I'm going to pretend I do. It could be, well, right now I'm getting, right now I'm helping my company merge with with CVS, right? I'm helping my company merge with CVS, and we're going to become the biggest pharmacy in the country. Like, oh my gosh, how do you even do such, right? It's, you're giving them the opportunity to engage with what you do and with what it means, right? Engage with what you do and with what it means. So the easiest way for me to actually show you how to do this is to show you how to do it. It's to work with somebody. So I can see everybody. This is great. Oh no, there's 2 pages. Well, I'll do my best. I can see most everybody. Go ahead and clap if you want to work with me. And if not, I'm not shy. I'll call on you. Who would like to talk about a project that they're up to?
Or can I pick one as well?
Oh, you could, or I could work with Verena.
There she clapped.
She clapped.
There you go. I go first.
You get to go first. Fantastic.
Follow.
All right.
Okay. So a project that I'm working right now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, so what? How do you answer right now? How do you answer? What do you do?
How I answered right now?
Yeah. How do you answer it right now?
Oh, like the worst possible way. I'm a producer and writer-director. Something like that, probably. Yep.
Right. Okay. And what the response you generally get is kind of like glazed eyes. They don't, and glazed eyes just mean they don't know what you mean, right? That's all that means.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. I love you. Thank you. So what's a project that you're working on right now?
Right now we're developing a slate of projects, films, TV shows, and documentaries, where we have funding approved for $10 million.
Okay.
So
fantastic.
3 of them are mine. Mm-hmm.
So you're planning to do 3 of them for the 10 million?
3 of them I will direct.
Oh, 3 of them are yours. Okay, got it.
Right. The others I will co-produce or executive produce or something. Mm-hmm. Okay,
fantastic. So, all right, now this is great because I'm going to get to do second level with you as well. So I'm going to do the first level version, which is just, the project right now you're working on is developing your slate of movies, right?
My slate, yeah, the slate of projects. It's a different kind of films and TV shows and documentaries.
Right. So, but your production company is just sort of, it's one slate, right, of many different projects.
Yes, basically.
It's not more than one production company, it's just one production company. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, great. So you want to say something like, well, right now I'm developing a slate of projects ranging from documentaries to feature films to television shows, and we have 10 million in funding already.
Easy.
You think that would start an interesting conversation?
Mm-hmm. That would probably they would probably ask, oh, what do you do in those kind of projects, right?
Exactly. That would be a natural follow-up. The first follow-up question would be $10 million, right? It's like, wow. You'd be like, yeah, we're very excited to be moving forward on so many different fronts, right? And then they'll be like, oh, what do you do? Mm-hmm. So you almost always give them the next question to ask. Mm-hmm. In terms of what you say. It becomes obvious, it becomes natural. You can take it out and test drive it and see, but I'm guessing that what you land on there, if you land on the money, that the money will be it. If you land on, I'm going to direct 3 of them, then that would be what they do. And this gets us to part 2, mm-hmm. Which is, okay, how do you want to be seen in the world? Mm-hmm. right? That is a big question, because sometimes you want to be seen as a writer, and sometimes you want to be seen as a director, and sometimes you want to be seen as a producer. And the mistake we make is we want to be seen as all of them at the same time.
Yes.
Don't try to do that. Never try to do that, because it's too much, it's too overwhelming. They can't get their heads around it. Give them a singular point of reference, and then slowly let them in on all the other things you do. Right? Which is kind of the only reason I'm against sort of the whole slate idea. Like, I want it to be singular. So I'm kind of like, it's a slate. It's one thing. But so let's pick one of the 3 or 4 or 5 different things that you are in this world. Which one would you like to be seen as?
Director and showrunner.
Oh, director and showrunner. Okay. So director. Okay. So what that means is you want to be seen as the person in charge, right? Because directors are the ones in charge. Absolutely. Directors are the ones in charge on a feature project, and showrunners are not directors, but they're the ones in charge. They're writer producers, and they're the ones in charge in television. All right. That's still 2. I want you to pick one. Unless you're willing to say, I want to be seen as the person in charge. Like, if you are willing to commit to that, I will help you. But otherwise, I want you to pick one thing.
Okay. Let's go for showrunner. I have more shows right now than features.
Showrunners. You want to be seen as showrunners. So let's talk about your television shows. Of the television shows, one of them is going to be yours?
Off the slate, yes. And I'm pitching 2 more right now. Or 3 more.
Right. So, but the one on the slate right now is yours.
Yes.
Okay. At heart, like, I don't need the details. I need the at heart. If you were going to answer at heart, finish the sentence. At heart, this TV series is about the theme. What's the theme?
Oh, damn. At heart, this TV series is about a woman in her 30s reinventing herself again.
Okay. So at heart, this is a story about reinvention, right? This is a story about the hope you need to have in your heart in order to reinvent yourself midlife, right? Or in your 30s, however you want to say it. Is that true? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would want to say something like, so what do you do? Right now, I'm set to run a TV series about a woman who has to reinvent herself. And at heart, it's really a story of hope and transition in the world. This is off the top of my head. It's not perfect, but you can see how now that's one thing. And what you're giving them is you're giving them the theme so that that's what they'll want to talk to you about.
It's a universal subject that they can relate to.
Exactly. They'll be able to relate to it right away, but it ties in with your thing. They might also say, run a show. What does that mean? Right? Because it's a little bit jargony. But what it does is it will sift, if you will, into 2 piles. People who understand what that means will be like, run a show, wow. And people who don't understand what that means will be like, what does it mean to run a show, right? So it kind of works for both.
Question about this. So we're talking about the topic of the show. What about, is it important to say what my aim is for the world? Like, for instance, maybe it doesn't apply 100%, it does, but let's say you're running a nonprofit and you say not only what the nonprofit does, but also I run a nonprofit because I think it is important to, make aware of this topic or whatever it is. And like your own intention, is that something that should be in our pitch?
No. And here's why. Because it is understood that if you're running it, you care about it.
Okay.
Right. So this is actually something I work with. I just worked with someone who is writing a feature, and the theme of the feature is climate change, right? Environmental stewardship, environmental stewardship, really. And so I said to her, well, why are you writing this? And she's like, environmental stewardship. I'm like, I care about environmental stewardship. Like, I know that. Like, that is understood. That's understood. But there's also a personal connection there somewhere, right? There's a reason why you care about stewardship. That is interesting. That belongs not in the log line, but a little bit later on. So what I would say is, you actually need to be very careful to keep your initial, think of it as a log line, your initial answer to what do you do, or your initial pitch of yourself. If someone says, so tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself as a writer, right? Or tell me about yourself as a director or a showrunner. And you would say something like, well, right now I'm working on an hour-long drama about a woman who has to reinvent herself in her 30s. And why I'm interested in it is not, it's not just, I don't know if it's something that you went through or you are going through. You look like you're 12, so you haven't hit your 30s yet. But
I am 32, my love. I am 32.
My goodness, right? So you could say, not only is it, something that I and all of my friends are going through, but what really draws me to it is that it's about hope. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm making that up. It may not be about hope, right? But it's about the hope required. And so that sets who you are in the world, right? That's the bit that sets who you are in the world. But you want to be careful. You don't want to say really any more than that, because if you say everything up front, they have no questions to ask and you have no conversation. All you want to do is spark a conversation. You can't control where it goes really beyond the first salvo. But as long as they're engaged, it doesn't matter where it goes. Because here's the big mistake we make. We think when we're pitching ourselves or our project, whether it's a television project or a widget factory, right? We think what matters is that they fully understand all the details. We really want them to get all the little bits. She's not just 30, she's 30 and she's an orphan, and right, like all of these little things. That is not what matters. What matters is that they connect with us over the arena that's being offered. The arena that's being offered, honestly, could be like, it could be tubas, right? It could be about tomatoes. It could be about like anything. But as long as they connect with you, your job really is done. Jay-Z, you had a question?
Yeah, I wanna, could you like help me to understand to whom did Verena just talk to? Is it like a very broad way of
Yes.
starting a conversation with people from Hollywood?
Or you can start that conversation with anyone. So generally speaking, 2 different kinds of people will ask you, what do you do? 3 different kinds, right? The first is somebody you've never met. It is the standard way in English. I don't know if this is true in other languages, but in English, it's sort of the very standard way to connect with someone you don't know. So what do you do? And what we invariably mean by that is, what is your job title? But in fact, no one cares. No one actually wants to know. What they really want is they just want to connect with you. And this is the way that we are taught to do it, is to say, what do you do? The second type of person who will ask it is someone who does know you, but you haven't seen in a long time. So what are you up to, right? And it's the same answer. Well, right now, right? It starts with, right now I am, and then you talk about a project that sets you up in a light in which you would like to be seen. The third kind of person who asks it is somebody who's interested in hiring you, right? Or if you're taking meetings in Hollywood. Like, I actually don't know who's in the room. I don't know how many people are sort of Hollywood people and how many people are entrepreneurs or other business groups. So, but it's true for anything. It's like you're meeting with an investor, or you're meeting with a producer or an agent or a studio. What they'll ask is, so tell me about yourself. It's all the same question, right? And the problem with So Tell Me About Yourself is that people start with their childhoods. Don't start with your childhood, right? I've been a writer since I was 3. I know that is not what they are asking. That is not what they want to know. What they want to know is, who are you in terms of your work, in terms of what you want to put out in the world? What is your theme? And so that's why, Verena, thank you so much for working with me. It was so great that you had so many projects I could kind of pick and choose from, because it allowed me to help you figure out, allowed me to sort of talk about already the idea that you want to pick something that shows you off in the light in which you want to be seen. Sometimes the light in which you want to be seen is a specific job. Like, I want to be seen as a showrunner or as a writer or as a director, right? I want to be seen as that. And you actually could be seen as someone who wants to be in charge, right? So right now, I am producing a slate of projects, which all of, a slate of projects. They're movies, they're TV series, they're documentaries, and it's phenomenal because I get to be the boss. That would start in the right in the right group of people, that could start a really fun conversation. And that's all you want. That's all you want. You just want to start a conversation that puts you off in the light that you want to be seen. So sometimes it is that, like, boss would be a job title. I would consider that to be like a job or job description, right? But sometimes it's not a job that you want to be seen, and sometimes it's your particular strength, the thing you do really well, right? So, Jay-Z, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So is there anyone here who, now sort of, it's someone went first, yay. So for second, is there anyone here who wants to be seen in terms of something they do particularly well? It may not be really considered their job. It would be in their job description, but not necessarily their job title. Is there anyone here who, for example, wants to be seen as someone who, tells a story visually, right? Or
I also took notes during our last webinar where Dana Kinsky did ask, Uli, how do you pitch for a job in Hollywood? So Dana, at one point, it's your turn to join in.
That's an amazing memory that you have.
All right, can I play with you, Dana?
Sure, why not?
Okay, fabulous. So how would you what do you think your strength is?
Pretty much exactly what you just described. I bring directors' vision to life. I'm a cinematographer, so my job is to utilize my talents in how do I say, my eye, my personality, my perspective, to connect with the director and make their vision a reality.
Okay, fabulous. So what is a project that you've either recently finished, and we're in a pandemic, recently is within the last year, right? Or that you are looking forward to doing, or that you're in the middle of?
I have answers for all of those. I just finished a music video for a band, Socially Distant, which was challenging and interesting. I also just was shooting in a XR stage, which is a very strange concept. We shot a live band that streamed live into a video game called Fortnite.
Yes.
Weird. And then I was up for a feature recently, but that's kind of a good example, because the way they put it is, how much can you do for our budget? Can essentially, in other words, can you produce all of your gear and all of your crew for a 10-day shoot for $20,000? And the way that it was said was like, we're going to pick the DP that can give us more for free or for little, and make it turnkey. So essentially, even though you're not called a producer, you're producing a lot. Because I just did that for the music video, and it was like a day just to sort the pickups and everything. So yeah, so I wrote them which is not politically correct. I wrote them, you know, they chose the other guy, the guy that they're working with that turnkey does everything. And, but they didn't give me the final budget yet. They said about 20,000. So I was like, okay, when you have the budget, I'll start making phone calls and everything. And when they answered me, instead of a budget, they said, oh, we're going to go with that guy because he offered us a deal we cannot refuse. I wrote, you know, that's great. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're working with the person, you know, you get along with or whatever. But, you know, hopefully one day I'll be chosen for my talent and personality and not for how cheap I can get all the stuff that you want. And it's not, I mean, it's just kind of what I felt at 4 a.m. But, you know, it's like a ballsy thing because essentially you could consider it as a burning bridge, but it's true. And that's how I feel. And I've produced my own gear and crew and gotten a bunch of shit for free for so long.
Right.
That I just want to be seen, to answer the question, as an upgrade from that, as someone that, you know, understands what is needed, can do it, but really want to be doing a little bit of a higher production value kind of thing. I actually get help with that.
That's great. I actually, like, there are bridges that can be burned.
It
You don't want to work with them.
Really burned, but yeah, it wasn't like my dream come true. It's so many red flags that I feel is the meant to be that we wouldn't do that together.
That is fine. Like, that is okay. And in fact, like, you are anticipating when something I'm going to talk about a little later, which I'll just throw in now. The whole idea is that when you are fully you, when you approach this with your strengths and who you are in the world, then when it's not right, it falls away. And you're okay with that. Like, that's okay. You don't want to work with everyone. Everyone is not who you're after. Everyone does not want to work with you, right? It is, you definitely don't want to get into a bad situation where you can't deliver to your highest ability, right? That is not going to serve your career, and it's not going to serve them, right? So definitely, I think that's great. So fabulous. So we're going to, however, not talk about that, because the one thing you don't want to do is you actually don't want to open with anything negative, right? Because they don't know you yet. They don't love you yet. So of course you would never open with that one. But let's talk about the idea. What?
No, 100%.
No opportunities. All right. I did see that in the chat. Thank you. That's great. It's a no opportunity. So I'm back at, you said that what you do is bring the director's vision to life, right?
Yep.
And the Fortnite one in particular sounds like that was, you know, it can be brutal, but you did it.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I loved it. It was weird. It was new. It was fun, and it's awesome. I know just the camera operator on that one, but you know, that's how you do things. That there was no DP. So
right. So you essentially, yes, you were also that. So we're not going to worry about job titles because doesn't matter. What you could say is, like, so somebody says, so tell me about yourself, right? Let's say it's a producer, right? So, you know, so tell me about yourself as a DP, or tell me about yourself. And you would say something like, well, you know, right now, or let's see, I just finished shooting one of the craziest music videos, one of the most surreal experiences, where I'm shooting a band that is streaming directly into Fortnite, a video game. There were so many layers of complexity, and we all just had such a blast with it. It's one of those times when it's a joy to bring a director's vision to life.
yeah.
And that's all you have to say.
Yeah.
You're showing what you do well, which is complex shoots that, you know, can get crazy, but you're also showing the joy with which you do it, right? And then you're landing on those words, bringing a director's vision to life.
Okay.
Because that is how you view your job. That is your worldview. And in your case, that worldview shows really who you want to be and who you are to someone else. So that kind of works for everybody. It would work better in the industry than like at your high school reunion. You would have to, at a high school reunion type of thing, or a cocktail party when those existed, you know, a Zoom tail party, you would say something like, well, I just finished shooting this really interesting project, the video. And instead of saying bringing director's vision to life, what you say is, you know, it was one of those things that was such a joy for me as a director of photography, or as a cinematographer, let's do it that, a joy for me as a cinematographer to bring the director's vision to life. We just throw in there, it's a job title that most people have heard of. The idea is you're behind the camera, just to give somebody who doesn't know the arena a little thing to hang on to, right? You could even say it actually as, it's such a joy for me as the person behind the camera, right, to help bring a director's vision to life. That's better, because then you don't have to worry about whether or not they understand what a cinematographer does. Right?
I'm interested what I would say to the producer that's going to hire me.
So a producer is going to hire you. I would say the first one. The first one is if they were talking to you about, so, you know, what are you, like, what's a question that they would ask you, or to a producer that you mean like a producer you've just met?
Either.
Okay, so a producer you've just met, if they're talking about you and they're saying, so, you know, what are you up to? Like, or a producer you know a little bit. It's like, so what have you been up to? Oh my gosh, I just finished shooting this surreal video. I mean, these are crazy times, but within this, I was shooting this, I was shooting a band that was playing live. We were live streaming it directly, you know, into monitors, and then from there directly into Fortnite, and I was shooting the whole thing, and it was so crazy to be live it was crazy to be, I think what it is why I like it is, it was so crazy to be live in a virtual world, right? And it was one of those times where it was really a joy to bring the director's vision to life.
You know, the problem with that is it's more of a gig, and it's not my passion, which is narrative features. So it's kind of like not really relevant in my path. It was great.
Okay. All right. So there are two things. One is that it might be a little bit more relevant than you think, because what they're seeing is that you're someone who is willing to who is not willing, who has the imagination and creativity to be able to be live in a virtual, to shoot something live in a virtual world, right?
Sure.
So I don't know that is not valued.
Sure.
But then in that case, you pick a different project, right? Pick a project that works on it. So it doesn't have to be an immediate past project. It could be something else you've done. What's a project that you would love to do something else exactly like it? So another feature.
Yeah, another feature.
No, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Actually, two questions to that. Number one, I remember in 2017, you taught something like, at daytime, I am doing this, and nighttime, I am doing that. Would it make sense to do that kind of separation with exactly this? Because I love the Fortnite project, because I can connect. I have heard Fortnite before, so I immediately give you some kind of credit. I'm like, oh, she's doing this. She's not doing a short film or anything. She's doing this. So that is already, for me, shows, oh, there's professionalism. Now, when you say that's actually not what I want to do, I want to do feature films, to kind of say, you know, so my daytime persona, I worked at this Fortnite project and all of that, what you just mentioned, which was really good. And then, but at nighttime, I work on my own feature films or something like that. So that was question number one. You want to?
Okay, let me answer question number one, then we can go to question number two.
Yeah.
So for question number one, yes, I wouldn't do the daytime, nighttime thing anymore. We're in a pandemic. The world has changed. So I think the understanding is that you're not necessarily doing the thing you most want to do. So I agree. I think Fortnite has more cachet than you might think it does. And so And so, you know, what you could say is, well, right now I just finished this, and exactly what we said, the whole thing with Fortnite. And you could just preface it with saying, you know, while I always prefer, you know, to bring a film director's vision to life, this was a real hoot. And then it makes it sound like it was something you did sort of on the side, and puts in the vision of your feature. Otherwise, you actually have to give me a feature to figure out how you would say it, right? Like, what did you bring to the table is what you want to presence. So that's the answer to part one. Marina, is there a part two?
There is a part two. So addressing the problem as a filmmaker or as a DP for you with, you know, people just want to see how low can I go and how much can I get from her without paying her. Is there a way in a pitch to kind of hint that you're not open and willing to do any of that stuff anymore?
No, you just say, I'm not open and willing to do any of that stuff anymore. I am 100% behind the idea that you are who you are and you do what you do, and they're not going to find the right. I turn down work all the time. Mm-hmm. I turn down work all the time, and I don't actually turn it down. I mean, I actually, all right, right now, I'm doing a project that I wish I had turned down, right? I'm doing a project. It's not my,
this right here.
No, not this right here. This right here. No, right now I'm helping a nonprofit. I'm helping this nonprofit rebuild their website, right? Their website essentially crashed, and I'm helping them to rebuild it. I can do it, but it doesn't, like, this is not my highest strength. But it was a personal connection to, you know, the nonprofit's founder, and they were really in a bind, and they do amazing work. And so I said yes, and I should never have said yes, because it's just like, this is not fun for me. It's an enormous amount of work that's really not, I'm not charging them all that much, and it's just not my wheelhouse. Like, this is much more my wheelhouse. And so I should have said no, but I didn't. So I don't actually turn down that kind of, I should turn down that work, but the work I turn down is work I'm not right for, right? I'm just like, I am great at structure, right? If there's a problem with your second act, oh, bring it on. I am fantastic at finding the second act in a feature film, at pitching it, anything that's structurally related. I had someone come to me and say the dialogue needed redoing, and wanted me to do a dialogue polish. That's not my, like, I said, no, thank you. But I have a friend who is phenomenal at that. Let me give you her number. That is what I do. It is okay. It's perfectly all right to turn down work that you don't want to do. It feels scary because we think we have to say yes to everything to move forward. But you're right. You don't want to move forward in that particular world, in the world of, we shoot so low budget that everybody basically works for free for us. That is not, there's no cheese there, right? There's no career there. That is not the path to go down. And it's okay to just say no to it. You don't have to make those people, like, you don't have to set it up so that those people won't come to you. You can just say no when they do. It's not you don't have to control them. It's not your job. Your job is just to presence what you do. What you do well is bring a film director's vision to life. You bring a director's vision to life. You prefer to work in film. It's a preference. It's perfectly allowed.
The one thing is, I would totally do that if I felt supported, and that these people are worth giving my heart and soul to. I would be happy to do that. I just did that for a music video, and I was happy to do it. It's, you know, it's just an intuitive feeling on that one. But, you know, the thing is, like, when they obviously present it like that, you know, that's one thing. But if they didn't, but that's what they meant, that's when I would have to know things that I don't know. Like, someone on the DL told me that this person does that.
Right. Your friends will do that. Your friends are super important. They will let you know. That's why we got to know a lot of people, so that we can ask, hey, you've worked with this person. What do they do? You should absolutely know that.
here. So anyone here could be a producer. I don't know most of the people here, though I do know some. And, you know, that's like a great, a great opportunity. Sorry about that.
So Dana, do you think you have a good pitch log line for yourself after Laura said how you would phrase it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, like I'm happy to. Why are you uncomfortable? Because you look uncomfortable.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, totally comfortable.
Totally comfortable. Totally fantastic. Okay, fabulous. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint for a minute because I want to talk about the whole thing with networking as we were just sort of touched on. Is like, okay, so now we're going to be meeting these people. We know what to say when we meet these people. How do we meet these people in the middle of a global pandemic? Right? Like that's the important bit. So let me see if I can share screen again. Hang on one sec. And okay. All right, who do you need to know? And we get this wrong too. This is another thing we get wrong. Bless our little hearts. We think we need Steven Spielberg, and we don't. What we really need are peers. Like Steven Spielberg, how many movies does he make? He makes like a movie every couple of years. You can't even eat on that, right? Steven Spielberg is great, but he is not going to be the only person who can help you. Rather, you want to have peers in your specific arena for you, so that you have people that you can go to and say, hey, is there something fishy here? Or, I actually called, I had a pitch meeting once, and I called a friend of mine who had worked with this person. And I said, so I'm about to pitch this person. What should I know going in? And what my friend told me was, no vestige of humanity remains. That's what I was told. And sure enough, it was one of the craziest pitch meetings of my life. They did not say hello, they grunted. Like it was just nuts, but it didn't throw me because I was a little bit prepared. No vestige of humanity remained. So you want peers in your specific arena. You also want them to just be able to talk shop with, but you want them to be able to get information about people that they may have worked with that you might work with and that you would know. You also want peers in your general field, but not your specific job. This is very overlooked, right? Writers tend to know a lot of writers. Directors tend to know a bunch of directors. Actors tend to know lots and lots of actors. That's great, but this is a collaborative medium. You really want to know people who do other things, and for two reasons. The first is you may need them. Like if you are going to shoot your own thing or you're going to do a reading, if you're a writer and you want to have a staged reading of your play, you better know a director and some actors, right? It helps to understand visuals. It helps to understand cinematography. And as a cinematographer, I would imagine it would help to understand basic storytelling. You would want to have some writers to bounce ideas off of. So there's that. But there's also, everybody comes at this in a different way. People come at the industry with different ideas and different ways of approaching problems. And having people who understand your arena, understand the industry, but have a different way of looking at the world can only help you, can definitely broaden your horizons. You also need people who can recommend you. They may or may not be peers. They may just be people who are fans. They may be people who you have done something with in the past, but have lost touch with. They can be, in a weird way, it's kind of like when your mother sets up a blind date. They may not be in the arena at all, but they can recommend you to someone who is, right? So people who know and like your work, even if they're not in the business. And then you need people who can give you advice. So people call them mentors. Mentors is mentorship. Do not use the word mentor. It makes people very nervous as to what you mean by that. Like, would you mentor me? Like, what does that entail? Am I like, people do not want to sign on for the next 6 years of taking weekly calls. So what you say is, I just would like to ask your advice about something. People love to give advice. People love to ask for advice, because when you ask for advice, it's about you. And when you give advice, it's about you. You're the expert, it's about you. Where this all goes south is that people hate to take advice. And that's a problem. So what you want to do is when you ask for advice, or people give you advice, you want to take it and then follow up with them. So if their advice was, you should email so-and-so about this, or you should post something on Twitter about this, or you should cold call an agent about this. You may not want to do it. You won't want to do it. 100% you will not want to take their advice, because if you'd wanted to take their advice, you would have done this already. It's going to be new and scary and different. Your brain is going to say no. Do it anyway. Do it so that you can report back with good news. You want to report back just with a little email or a call, or the next time you see them, whenever you, well, sooner than that, you want to report back. Thank you so much for that advice you gave me. I went ahead and took it, and I got this great result. The great result is always connected to what you learned from it. I mean, it's amazing if you did it and you got signed by ICM or something, right? Or you did it and somebody gave you $18 million to make your movie. That would be fabulous. That's not likely, right? What's likely to happen though, is you did it and it got you over the fear of cold calling. That is a legit good outcome that you can then report back on. And then finally, you need people who can hire you. But you need these basically in descending order. You need a lot of peers in your arena. You need a lot of peers in your field. You need some people who can recommend you, some fans. You need a few people who can give you advice, people who are high enough up the food chain from you that they've done this. They've seen, they've made it through this particular forest, right? They may not be Steven Spielberg. They shouldn't be Steven Spielberg. But they've got this behind them. They've got where you're at in their rearview mirror. And then people who can hire you, you need a few of those. You definitely need a few of those. So where are we going to find these people right now, right? That is always the big question, and more so now in the middle of a global pandemic. So I'm going to stop share.
Can chime in on that real quick.
Yeah.
I know a cajillion DPs, literally.
Yeah, of course you do.
200, but and all of us, we talk a lot, and we all know everything, every one of those people, except for the people that are not in our arena, aka directors, producers that can hire you. That's hard to meet because we love each other and we support each other, but we don't have a way to meet the people that can hire us.
Of course you do. You get hired. Of course you have a way to meet them. All 200 of you are getting hired for things. Of course you're meeting people who can hire you. You just need to do it in a more systematic way. You need to build more of those relationships. Wherever you are, you got there because you know all of those people. You know someone in every single category, right?
I guess the people you want to meet, not the people you know.
Okay, this is where you're making your big mistake. The people you want to meet are the people you know. You already know everybody you need to know to get to your next step, right? Not to have a $1 million a year career, but to get to the next step of your career, you already know everybody. What you need to do is you need to figure out how you can connect to them and what you actually need to do to get to your next step, right? So your next step is you want to DP another feature film, right? Is that your next step? Great, fantastic. So what you want to do is that is now how you're going to talk about yourself. You're going to talk about yourself as a DP who is, all right, this is what I see of you. It matters more how you want to be seen, but how I see you is a DP of phenomenal imagination and creativity, who's excited about taking on different kinds of projects and doing what hasn't been done before, but whose heart and soul rests in bringing a director's vision to life. So does that work for you? Great. So that's how you're going to present yourself. So you need to find a feature project that you worked on, or you need to talk about the fortnight project and then just say, what you're really interested in is, it's so much fun. I'm really, mostly I'm excited when I get to bring a feature film, when I get to work on a feature film but in either case, I like to bring the director's vision to life, right? Whatever that is. So, or you find a feature film and you find the cool, exciting thing about that you did in the past, that you can talk about yourself through the lens of how in that amazing project, right? Don't ever pick a project that's terrible or that was, just brutal, right? You want to always focus on the positive, but within this funky, neat, crazy, imaginative project, you were able to bring the director's vision to life, feature film to life. And then what you want to do is you want to look at who you already know. And you want to start talking to them about how this is where you're going next, right? This is where I'm going next. Not just your DP friends, but like your mom, your best friends, people who are not necessarily in the industry. If you focus only on spending time with other DPs, you're missing out on all those other people. So you need some actors, you need some writers, you need other people. Where do they live, right? Where do they live? And that is in places like this. So you do know people, some people in this room, and you chat with them. I don't know if you guys have a chat feature in your general meetings where people chat amongst themselves in small breakout groups. I'm in a breakout, I do that with, it's like a little cocktail party type of thing with my alumni group, right? The women alumni group meets every week. And we have, I missed it tonight for you guys. And we have we all chat together in little breakout rooms and you meet different people every time. And all you're doing every time is you're just presencing who you are, what your vision for your career is in just like a sentence or two. And then if you have an ask, you can make that ask after you get to know them a little bit. And your ask might be something very simple, like if you encounter someone else who's in the industry, not necessarily someone who can hire you, but let's just say you bump into another writer or someone who's a writer, right? Not a DP, a writer. You could say, I'm really excited about getting into feature films or doing more feature films. I really love feature films. When you're writing one, what do you envision the scenes? Like, get them talking about their writing from the point of view of a cinematographer. Start building that relationship, right? Because they'll remember you as someone who can speak their language or who's interested in their thoughts. You need to think about what you are bringing to a relationship. This is it. This is where we get the idea that networking is all about taking, and it's not. Networking is about giving. What are you bringing to the conversation? You presence yourself in the way you want to be seen, and then you bring to the conversation. So I don't mean like you valet their car or offer to read their script or do anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is how do you listen to someone? We are all unheard. We were joking before this started that I sometimes make people cry. I made someone cry on Monday. Like, I sometimes make people cry. And it's not because I say anything mean. It's not that kind of crying. When I work with someone one-on-one, for some people, it's the first time they've ever felt heard, especially if it's a passion project. They feel heard and understood because I listen to what's underneath the words they're saying, right? I listen very deeply. If you can do that, if you can listen to someone, even if you just forget deep, if you just listen to someone with respect, that is gold. How many times or do people just kind of blow us off? They're not really listening. They're thinking their own thoughts. Their eyes may be on us, but they're really thinking their own thoughts. If you can bring to any conversation your own presence, you can make a connection. This is the first step. It's connecting with people. Even if it's virtual, the connection is real. So you need to think about, okay, where do people that you need to meet live? Not where does Steven Spielberg, like not where do people who can hire you live, but where do other people within your industry who might be in a position someday to recommend you, right? Where do they live? You need to start building out that kind of community. So they live in places like this. They live in any community that you have access to. That anywhere you are is a good place to start. So you want to think about alumni organizations, professional organizations. You want to think about anything that's open in this pandemic time. A lot of things that would be closed are open to other people, right? A lot of webinars like this have sort of spread out, spread their wings, opened up to people who maybe not, you know, who they might not have been opened up to earlier. Let's just put it that way, within professional organizations. I know, like, this is in the mystery writing community, but so I'm a mystery writer, and in Sisters in Crime, right? It used to be that we would just have these sort of small meetings, and they were mostly members only. And now there are these big Zoom calls, and anyone with the link can come in, right? And they're webinars. The meetings are chit chat between people, webinars, and then more chit chat between people, so that you get the opportunity to network as well as learn something. You can always also reach out to people whom you've seen in a webinar, and they give you their email address. Often they do at the end. I will. And you can reach out to me. You could reach out to them just to say, hey, I learned so much. Here's a specific question I have. Do you have an answer? Right? Most people who have given a webinar will answer that because they wanted to connect with you. They wanted to share. That's why they did the webinar, right? So as long as it's very short and it's not like, you know, it's not like, will you read my script? No. That's a big ask. But will you answer this question? Will you give me advice? Is a small ask that people love to do, like are very happy to do. In terms of then reaching, so you have to do this. Like, you can't just jump up to how do I reach other producers, or how do I reach producers who can hire me? You kind of have to go that route. But at the same time that you do that, you can also reach out to producers you hire. Find what you have in common with someone. You should make a list of producers who are doing interesting work that you want to be part of, right? Because it's the producers who hire DPs, right? It's not the director who brings, sometimes directors bring their own DPs. You should befriend directors, right? You should have directors in your, who you genuinely like their work and they genuinely like yours, and you can be fans of each other. But producers do the hiring. And so if there's a producer whose work you like, you can reach out to them. We have so many ways to reach each other virtually nowadays. You can send an email. You can find someone who knows them and see if they'll set up a coffee. So what we used to do, and Verena, I will totally get you, what we used to do in the before times was, if I had a friend who knew someone I would want to know, I would call them up and I would say, hey, can I take you to coffee? And would you bring that friend so that I can meet them about this project? And we'll just all have coffee together. And is there someone I know that you'd like to meet? And it'll be 4 of us and it'll be fun, right? And people still do that. They just do it virtually. Like, I just had someone reach out to me and say, hey, I know you know this playwright. I want to talk to her about, I want to do the things she's done. Could you make that introduction for me? And we could all have had Zoom coffee together, but I decided that I just didn't have time for it. So I just put the 2 of them together. They're having Zoom coffee together, right? And just chatting and getting to know each other. And she's going to answer his questions and help him. Like, people love to help. They don't love to be taken advantage of. They don't love to be pushed into a corner, but they genuinely love to help. So that's what you want to do. You want to think about, who do you know who already knows somebody? And you start with the people closest to you, right? You have about 5 to 8 people who will answer your phone call at midnight and post bail. That's your inner core. Those are the people that you could ask a big favor, like making an introduction to a director or reading your script or whatever your thing is. Anything beyond that, they may take your call at midnight, but if they won't post bail, do not ask them to read your script. Verena.
2 things again. First of all, you can go to any coffee shop in LA. There's probably about 5 to 15 people that are writers or directors. Just so you know, I'm usually one of them.
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
So some of my peers or friends took it upon themselves to use email addresses they have from friends to market themselves. Like, for instance,
Neat.
send a newsletter every
No.
week or every month. I want to hear your opinion about that, because I have a very strong opinion about that.
No. You never do that without permission. You don't market without permission, right? You don't market without permission. And you're not trying to market yourself anyway. What you're trying to do is make a connection, right? It's really all in your head. If you can just make that switch to the idea that instead of trying to market yourself, you're just trying to make a connection, that's what you want to do, right? So you never do that. You can't make a connection through a newsletter. I know that that's like, this whole newsletter thing is supposed to be this great thing, but you're not making a personal connection. It's very rare. I can think of one writer. I'm on a lot of news. I get a lot of newsletters. There's one writer who makes a personal connection, but she works so hard at it. And the personal connection is not made through her newsletter. It's made through everything else she does. So that when I get her newsletter, I open it as if it's from a friend.
Mm.
But that she does Facebook Lives. She actually did something where you could choose the name you wanted her to email you under, right? Pick a name for my books, and I will happily let you, I will happily call you that. And she just changes it in her MailChimp, right? So that it automatically calls me Squiffy Bunting, right? That's what it calls me. And it just feels adorable. But she has worked very hard at that. And I've been reading her now for like 10 years. That's how she built that. She built it through individual connections, not through co-opting someone else's mailing list, right? Don't do that. So yeah, I have very strong opinions about that too. You should never drop a name of a friend unless you've checked with them first, right? There are people that I have worked with, you would not want to drop my name in that situation. That would not be good for you. Check with me first and I will tell you no, right? Always check with the person first. You don't know what the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do we have time for another person to try it out?
I would love
what
to
do you
work
think?
with somebody else. Is there anybody
Yeah.
else who would like to work with me? You're very shy. Don't be shy. I'm clearly not shy.
Raise your
I'll go.
hands.
I'll go for it.
Chris, yes.
Chris, fantastic. Let me go back to speaker view. Okay, Chris.
So we have our
Baby.
company, my wife and our daughter Dylan there.
Baby.
We have a company,
You
Raptastic.
can call me Nikki for short.
Hey, Nikki.
Raptastic Productions. And
Okay.
So we have an Amazon show, short form original comedy called Please Tell Me I'm Adopted. We did the first season, crowdfunded, did well for us. We just did a virtual season of that, which was a Herculean effort to put 4 episodes out during the pandemic with cameras and lights and shit everywhere. Jay-Z's one of the producers on this. And then we have our first feature that we're trying to launch. So it's about $4.8 million budget. It's a horror film. It's an absolutely slam dunk, no brainer. A lot of the blacklist people have read it and said it's really great. But of course, we're the untried, untested, and everyone says, oh, just sell it to Blumhouse, sell it to so-and-so. They'll make the movie and you'll get a couple of bucks. But we're trying to launch our company with it and trying to take the harder route. I've actually done, luckily, a lot of the stuff that was on your spreadsheet. People like Jay-Z, who I went to and said, well, what would you do in this situation with color? Or Michael Tronick and some of these other great people that have never done anything for me, but they've helped me learn how to do it myself in terms of post, and editing, which we did internally. But obviously when you get to the money, when you get to the taking the pitch meeting with major Hollywood players, they look at you like you're shit on their shoe because, well, what have you done? Why should I give you my key to the Ferrari, regardless of any positivity you bring to the table? And I have a lot of shtick and I've got a lot of spiel and I can make it happen in a room, but getting that foot in the door, or as you say, always looking at everybody as a new old friend. Therefore, what have you done lately is actually what they're asking. So you kind of pitch right into that, which is great. But where do you go from there? And how do you impress them that you're the racehorse they should take a chance on?
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How many meetings have you gone into where they've treated you like the shit on their shoe?
It's less the meetings. If I can get to the meeting, I'm usually good. It's more trying to get the meetings, whether it be via email or even Zoom.
So you are hurting yourself by assuming that they're not taking a meeting with you because they think you're shit.
Okay.
Right? That has not actually been your experience. And your experience is when you get in the meeting, everybody's perfectly lovely, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's just assume everybody's perfectly lovely. Because if you assume that, you're much more likely to do the things you need to do to get in the room, right? To take that action. Let's just assume everybody's perfectly lovely. And you need to know that you are in fact worth it. Like you need to do that. And so I want you to presence for me. Tell me why you are the perfect, like, what is your strength in this? What is the thing? You gave me a whole list of things that you've done, which is fantastic, but what is your strength that you bring to these things?
I'd have to say with the lessons learned from previous projects, I feel like I'm intimately capable of handling all the stuff that could possibly come up as a producer, and to see this film through to its completion and to be something that's not only box office money, but also artistically really something special.
Okay, so hang on for a second there. You deflected to the thing. I don't want you to deflect to the thing. I want you to tell me about you. So what you told me is that you are competent. Okay, competent is not, I'm not like passionate about competent. I want to know better than competent. So I totally thought that you had it when you started to say that you could handle whatever, but then you kind of drowned it out a little bit. I think the idea is that what makes you competent is that you are someone who is passionate about this project, and you have the background that allows you to do it, right? Let's just say that that's true. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm not going to talk about your background for a second. I'm going to hang on to that for a second. I want to talk about your passion. Why are you passionate about this project?
Passionate about this project because I think the project itself has legs. I think it's entertaining. It's certainly nothing like some of the other people had talked about, where it's like, or even yourself talked about the fact that it's about climate change. This is a box office movie. It's a horror film, but I'm passionate about the fact that I can guide the ship. I can be the captain and guide the ship and actually get everyone to the final, to whether it be the payday or the artistic payday.
Okay, so you keep telling me it's artistic, and then you backtrack and tell me, but it's just a horror film. Like it's not going to change the world. How is it both a horror film and artistic?
I think it's artistic in the sense for me that it isn't going to be something just obviously like a stupidly made film just to grab people's money at the quote unquote box office. But on the other side of it, it's accessible to everybody. Therefore, the potential for it to make money for somebody is really good.
Oh, my love. You keep telling me how it's going to make people money, and I keep asking you what's the heart.
My wife's agreeing with you behind
I
me.
am. I'm sorry. I get you. You got me right on the get-go with the heart, which is
right.
Thinking. We do need to think a little bit more, but basically what the heart for us for this is that it is about three people, and it is about their relationship, and it is about how their lives changed and how they were deceived. And for me, that happens every day, but this is obviously placed into horror, and to be honest, I guess this is probably going back to what you're saying, so I don't know how I would change the pitch of this. Yes, Dylan. But we also wrote the actual entity as a character. She's not just entity in it.
Right, right, right,
She is actually a character.
right,
She actually has a through line. She actually is seeking revenge.
right.
Her own through line, which has not happened in recent times. So that was the kind of neat thing that we really tried to make.
Right.
Is that just because you're dead and you died a violent thing? We tried to make her a part of the movie, and like she's alive, like she's there, like
Right.
if you were hurt or raped and the family was murdered, kind of.
Right.
No, a little bit long. I'd love to put that down, like you said, into the heart, but that is what it is. It is about
Right. You have to be in love with it. That's the thing, is that you're not selling. When you think you're selling, then you're going to present as a salesperson. And I don't want you to do that.
right.
I want you to be passionate about this and present as a passionate producer. This movie has to be made. It has to be made.
Okay.
This is a movie
so-
about, right, this is a, so you are, I like guiding the ship. I'm going to come back to guiding the ship. Don't think I've forgotten it. This is the project that you're working on right now is a horror film with so much in it, so much heart to it. This is about 3 people, and they're I don't know what the relationship is, you will know. Like, this is about 3 people who had once loved each other and who now have discovered that everything they thought was true is a lie. That's hard enough. But
That's brilliant. I love what you just basically said, because believe it or not, you haven't read it, but that is what ends up happening.
I'm good at this.
You
So
are.
that's hard enough. But when you add on to it the element of horror, which we don't just, it's not just some evil stalking witch. Like, that's not what it is. What it is someone whose life was beyond destroyed. Like, let's find a better word than destroyed, right? Whose life was
Snuffed out.
yeah, better than destroyed. I'm going to use destroyed because I can't think of a better word right now, but you will thesaurus it. Whose life was destroyed and who is the only thing left of her is this unquenchable desire for revenge. And they are in the wrong place at exactly the wrong time.
Yep. That's
Right?
it. Yep.
And I get chills with that.
Yes.
They're going to get chills with that. When you present that, why wouldn't they want to take a meeting with you?
You write this down. Do you have this?
It's been recorded.
I give you full credit, but I'm totally stealing that because that's beautiful. And you just
Yes. No, anything I say that's useful, thank me in your Oscar speech. That'll be great. Fabulous. Fabulous. I want you to take it. So I'll talk to them about the recording because it's going to be not put out as a full recording. So, but maybe they can just listen to that part and write it down for you. Because I don't promise to remember. Farina, you have a question?
Yeah, I know. I'm constantly coming up with other questions.
I
Okay,
appreciate it.
2 things.
Thank you, Chris,
first
and
of all-
Nikki for playing with me, and Dylan.
and thank you for you just
That was great.
that was amazing.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. So I wanted to call Ellen Clark and Nina Franuszek. They both raised their hands on the chat, so
Oh,
you didn't see it because of that. Who wants to start?
Alan, I saw you wave. You can start.
Yeah, that was just a friendly wave, but I will start. That's fine. Yeah, so I'm currently working on a proof of concept for a feature that I wrote. And we shot 4 scenes of the feature, and we're using that. We've edited a trailer together, and we're just finishing up a couple of versions of it and using that to try to pitch to get a full feature.
That's fantastic. So you want to know how to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Fabulous. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the feature. What kind is it?
So it's a drama, and it's about the prescription drug industry And I think it's an interesting topic that's more and more interesting nowadays. And, I wanted to build a world where it's not trying to just choose sides, but have kind of interesting characters where you kind of see where everybody's perspective is, and just how things get to such a complicated situation, particularly for the U.S. Prescription drug industry.
Okay, that's great. That's way too long. It's way too long. People can't follow. So I actually have given the folks here a worksheet that I use to help people get their log lines really short. And they're going to email it out to all of you tomorrow. So this is perfect for that. So, but the idea is you want to get it down to just one thing, and that one little story that you're going to tell, just to get people hooked, right? Just get them listening right. That one story is never going to be, it's about an industry. It's about a person, right? That's why we watch movies. We watch it to be able to go through the hero's experience. Even if the hero is an anti-hero, we still want to live that experience vicariously. And so what you want to tell me is, this is a story about a guy who, what?
So the story is about a guy who works in the prescription drug industry, and he finds out that they have a cancer treatment, but they're deciding to not advance with it because they would make more money if they stay with an older cancer treatment.
Okay, so this is a story. So I've just finished shooting the sizzle reel. Sizzle reel sounds so much more cool than proof of concept. We're just going to go with that. But it's essentially the same thing, right? I just finished shooting a sizzle reel for a feature film that I'm producing, directing. What are you doing?
Yeah, I wrote and directed it and ended up doing a lot of the producing. So.
How do you want to be seen? In which hat do you want to be seen in?
The director.
Director. Okay. So I just finished shooting a sizzle reel for a feature film I'm directing. It's about a guy who uncovers, it's about a guy who discovers that the biomed company he works for has cured cancer, and they're hiding it because it's worth more money to them to let people die.
Very close to what it is. So, yeah.
Right? Well, you kind of gave it to me. Like that one wasn't, I can't claim. The other one I can claim a little bit of clairvoyance, but not with yours. You kind of gave it to me. But right? And so you want to use strong words, right? They're sitting on it because they can make more money with this older thing. No. They found the cure for cancer, and they're hiding it because they make more money when people die.
And I'm sometimes curious, because some of those things that happen in the story, they happen like halfway through the story, or and I'm kind of like, I think that that's really some of what makes it like a big draw. But I'm not sure if it would be better not to like not let kind of be known what
this is what it is about. You want to let people know what it's about.
Okay.
These are not the people who are going to be buying tickets to see it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to see if someone is interested in making this kind of movie or not. And
Right.
with that, you've signaled that it's got elements of a thriller to it. You've called it a drama, but it's got elements of a thriller to it. You've signaled what world it's in. You've signaled that it has to do with some stuff we're seeing today, right? There's a lot going on. I don't think you want to hide that. It's the single most important thing about your piece. Doesn't matter where it falls, right? It doesn't matter where it falls. And so, and you want to end, like those are stronger words. Did you hear, let people die is a much stronger way of saying it than, make more money off of this older thing. And you want to land there. Say it, let them get goosebumps, be quiet, and let them respond. And for this, so this is a pitch for a project, but it presences you as a director. So that's good. You can use it for you as a director, but you're also finding out whether or not they're interested in your project with it, right? It's not just, are they interested in you, but are they interested in this particular piece? So you want to recognize that if you get a, wow, tell me more, they are interested, right? Or if you get a, oh, that's not really my cup of tea, that is also okay. You will never have a project that fits everybody. Like you will never be right for everybody, right? You as a director are never going to be the right director for every project, right? I as a writer am not the right writer for every project. You want a comedy, unless if it's a farce, I can do it because a farce is very highly structured. But if you just want me to be funny, oh no, I'm not going to be funny. It's not going to happen, right? You're not right for everything. Your project isn't right for everyone. Michael Bay is never going to make Pride and Prejudice, right? It's not going to happen. Doesn't mean Michael Bay is not a good director. Doesn't mean Pride and Prejudice isn't a good piece. It's not a good fit. So that's why you want to be super clear. You know your log line's working when people say no. That's fine because it saves everybody time. It saves you time. It saves them time. If you do get a no at any stage, if you get a no, it's not quite right for me. If you get a no for any reason at any stage, your response is, oh, what are you looking for? Or, oh, what are you interested in? You know, oh, well, what would be your cup of tea, right? What are you interested in? What are you looking for? It's just very simple and not in any way snarky. So like, oh, just be curious. Oh, well, what are you looking for? Because when you know, then you might have it. You might have it. You got lots of projects, right? Or you might have a friend who has it. Or it keeps the conversation going. It keeps the connection present.
So one of the things, so when I was giving my, I guess, my pitch to you or kind of my description of what the project was,
yeah,
I think, so like you said, my pitch was a little bit long. I think part of that was I was attempting to implement some of the, like, what makes my connection with it, what I feel like my strengths are with this project.
It's too early, not the log line. That doesn't belong in the log line. The log line is just, this is what it is.
Okay.
And then if they're interested, pitching, the art of pitching is about dripping information drop by drop as requested.
Yeah, okay.
What are you up to? That's a request. Oh, right now I'm working on this. And you give them the log line with it, right? Oh, that's so interesting, right? That is a request to ask, to give them a little bit more information, right? And so then you want to say something like, then you can start saying, well, you know, I'm really excited about it because, and then you presence a little bit of your connection to the material, right? It's got to be a little bit more clear that that's what you're doing. You were kind of telling me, like, don't tell me the story. My big thing is people never actually want a synopsis, right? A synopsis means they don't have to read it. Right? Remember Cliff Notes in high school? If you have Cliff Notes, you don't have to open up Great Expectations, right? And that is not what you want. You do not want to answer all their questions before they even know to ask them. You just want to give a little bit, the thing that's most important about the piece, the thing that like if it's based on a true story, you always want to say that up front. Like that's after the log lines. They're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Well, you know, it's based on a true story, right? Or it's inspired by something that happened to me. It was inspired by the time I found out that blah, 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 right? Or you say why you're connected to it, what it is that makes it for you such an important piece. But it's never about crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, right? It's just about your personal connection. I don't have to get it right. I have to connect with you. Okay, useful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Rita, who is the other person?
Nina. Did you can unmute yourself? Yes.
Just mute myself. I just did that.
Lovely. Hi, Nina.
Thank you. This is great stuff.
Oh,
Thank you, Laura. It's cool. So I came in a little late, but I think I got already where you're coming from. My problem is, and I kind of like, you know, I have my different pitches for different people, but I'm a multitasker.
Yeah.
So on one hand, let me put this on speaker view because I see myself. I want to see you. Oops, I don't. It's really weird that I see myself right now because I can't connect with you.
Throw it into gallery view. At least somebody.
Okay, now I got it. Yes.
Okay.
So basically, my problem is this. I'm an award-winning actor and I have a 30-year-long career. I have that. And then I'm also a coach. I train actors and basically to break into Hollywood and help them to find work here in film and television. Then I'm also creating. So I'm writing on a TV series right now. And I'm also, I became a lead role in a video game and was so fascinated by virtual reality, and that's my new field. So I'm also now at all these video game and game conferences. I have a lecture now at MIT in Boston about motion capture performance. I did this at CalArts. So my problem is I do all these things and I have a lot of, for me, it's all one because it's my passion of storytelling.
Right.
And I love it in all these different forms and the new forms and and I love technology too, like what you can do. Like when, you know, when she shared about that music band going forth, and I was like, yes, you know, that this is cool stuff. Like, I really love that. So my problem is a little bit, it's so much. Like, would you advise to have different pitches and then pitch more consciously?
Two ways to do this.
Mhm.
If you are in a room where you are being seen, you want to be seen in only one way, right? So let's say you're in a room and you're up for a job as an actor, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be seen in that capacity. That's really how you want to be seen. Or even more specifically, you want to be seen in the capacity of what you can do sort of with virtual reality, right? Stick to that. Have a story about a project that you just did in that realm, mm-hmm. and be able to presence what you're passionate about that particular thing, right? Yes, but like in a general conversation, or if you were in something like a Zoom meeting, which is how we're all doing. Like seriously, you can network, everybody. You can network like in Zoom yoga classes, right? Just show up a little early, hang out a little after. People are so desperate to connect. It's really possible in anything you're already in to add an element of networking to it, just by sticking around a little longer, right? Just by trying, just by asking questions. Mm-hmm. But if you're in something like that, you want to have something that encapsulates who you are. Yeah. So it's interesting to me that you said that what you love is storytelling. For me, that's fascinating to hear from an actor's point of view. Like I know as a writer, it's really obvious how I tell stories. Mm-hmm. I have a pen, right? And I write them down. But it's more complex when you are either a director or an actor. There's a visual storytelling for both of you, actually. So I think it's in there somewhere. How you say you have a passion for storytelling, what it like at your highest storytelling ability, like at your highest form, what does that look like? When you're firing on all cylinders, what does that look like?
I think what it looks like is that I'm so trained as an actor to observe and embody other people, but I also am very informed about society. So everything is learning for me. And if I show up on a film set or in the volume on a video game, I bring all that with me. And now also, you know, it's nearly 40 years in the business. Mm-hmm. And then also the international background coming from Europe and the whole transition into becoming an American. And I see that I bring that in form of language, in form of embodiment,
right? But
also knowledge these days because I'm older.
Right. So what you bring to the table, no matter what, is your whole heart and your whole mind, right? Let's stick with whole heart for a minute. So you could say, when someone says, so what do you do? Well, I actually just finished putting together a lecture for MIT on how to act in virtual reality. I forget what you actually call it.
Motion capture.
Motion capture. Okay, so let's use virtual reality because I think that would capture, people would understand that more. I actually just finished putting together a lecture for MIT on how to be an actor and convey reality in the most unreal of worlds, in virtual reality. And I was able to do that because I realized that what I bring to it, it's what I bring to every form of acting, of storytelling that I do, is I bring everything I am to the service of this character I embody.
Yeah.
And that's enough, right? I bring my whole heart, I bring everything I am in service to this other character that I have the honor of embodying. That's a little long, right? I bring it to the service of this character that I embody.
It's interesting also because that's usually the feedback that I get. I just got a thank you note from a production, and they thanked me for it's interesting. It was not in my consciousness. So it's amazing how you were able to bring that to that point.
I listen deeply.
Yes. Yeah, it is exactly in there that they thank me for that, to bring my whole heart in everything to this. Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know what it is where their strength really lies, ask the people you've worked for and ask the people who love you. Where does your strength really lie? And they will tell you, and then just believe them, right? Yeah. Because sometimes we don't necessarily see it because it is us. We embody it so much. So it's,
Can I say something to that?
Mm-hmm.
When I was just figuring out what to do, like how to change my life, I Googled how can I find out what strength I have and how to explore myself more. And there was ask your loved ones, like 3 of your family, 3 of your dearest friends, and 3 of your working colleagues, 3 things that they think is the best description of your strength and talents. And it was so surprising, like almost everything was the same that they told me without they know each other. It was so great.
That's actually great advice to get it from, because I agree. I think it's people who you've worked with, right? There's the working you, there's the beloved you, and then there's the sort of in between are the friends, right? They don't love you enough to bail you out at midnight, but they do love you enough to know what your strengths are. So that's great. That's great. I'm so glad that worked. Okay, we are totally over. Does anybody have, like, I'm happy to, like, I don't want to keep you all night. Did anybody else have any questions? Did I miss anybody? I totally miss people. Did I miss anybody? You still here?
If somebody was missed, just unmute yourself.
Yes, just unmute
in case
yourself.
we don't see you, and raise your hands. But I think nobody.
All right, I'm going to share my screen just for one last thing.
Quick question.
Question. Yep.
How do we either get a transcript or like a recording of this? Because there's so much meat here. I'd like to go back and watch it again.
I don't know that they're doing that, but I don't know that they're going to have the whole thing. They're going to have bits of it. But we need to be careful because people are sharing their personal stories, and that's, but
well, let's ask this. Who of you that has participated wants his part to be not public? Because I don't have a problem with cutting you out and sending specific things to specific people, but if everybody says I don't have a problem with sharing that, like I don't have a problem with sharing my part, you can feel free to use it, but I understand if so. So Chris, you don't have a problem. I will ask who
Dana already left.
Dana already left, so we can ask her. Nina and Ellen, exactly. What about you guys? Do you want to share your part?
Let me think about it. I think I'm okay, but let me think about it. Maybe you send out something in writing, right? And then we can say yes or no.
Sure.
You know what? This is making it so complicated for them. Let's not do that. You guys are going to, so the plan was that they were going to make short videos of the meat of what I said, right? So that's going to be available. And then Chris, for your bit, if you don't remember what I said and you need that written, then maybe Verena, if you'd be kind enough to send me a copy, I'll transcribe his bit and just email it to him. I don't mind doing that.
A recording of that, like the Zoom recording is great.
Yeah, I can just cut that part because that was like a very
Okay, if you would just cut that
Yeah.
part and send that to him, that would be so awesome.
Absolutely.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
for
And that
sure.
way we don't have to worry about getting other people's permission. I tend to be very concerned whenever I'm doing something like this. I don't want, it's their personal stuff. So that great. That works for me. Okay. So what I wanted to say, how I wanted to leave you all was on the idea. All right, back to sharing screen for a second. On the idea from current slide. Oh, there we go. There we go. Be yourself. Be your true self out in the world. Go out, share what is true for you, how you want to be seen, and then what your true strengths are. And then the people what loves you, let them love you. Right? And the other people, they are just not it's never going to work out, and it's okay to let them go. You just let those fish go. They'll get eaten up by somebody else, and you will end up with the kind of jobs that fill your soul. There you go. That's my thought. Stop share. I also really like that picture.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're
Any
very,
last
very welcome.
questions from anybody? Last one, second question. Okay, Chris.
Not a
Nikki.
question, just a thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So enlightening and brilliant, and you honestly excited me and changed my entire perspective, and I cannot thank you enough.
You're welcome. That totally makes it worth it. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm
100%.
pumped. I want to take a meeting at 9 o'clock at night. Like, I'm like ready. Like, thank you for the perspective. I mean, these are things that you
Fantastic.
know, and you don't.
You're fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. I'm just seeing the chat now. You're all very welcome. I'm very happy. The piece that I'm gonna, the logline piece, because actually a lot more of you are writers and in the industry than I thought you were gonna be. This is great. So the logline thing that they're gonna send out tomorrow has my email on the bottom. When I said you can email me, I really did mean it. Like, that's totally fine. I would love to hear from you. And then my website's pitchingperfectly.com if you want to go there. So there you go. All right.
And Laura, for the future, because I know from last time, you do various things, and you do coaching for pitching yourself and pitching your pitch, and then also for helping writers. So can you elaborate really quickly on what exactly can we seek help from you if we want to do that?
Absolutely. So I help people obviously pitch themselves and their projects. That's mostly what I do. And that goes from everything from, just coming up with a log line and sort of the tell me more how that conversation would go, to the full pitch, like from walking in the room to the telling your whole 20-minute movie, right? Or your whole television series. So I help with that as well. And then in terms of helping writers, my real strength is helping you break story. So again, it's not about reading you and giving you a dialogue polish. It's about helping you break the story before you write the script. I'm a big believer in coming up with your pitch first, so that you have a true north as you're writing. You remember what it is you're actually going for there. And then outside of the industry, I do a lot of work in tech. I do a lot of work helping people do pitch decks for their entrepreneurs, do pitch decks for raising funds. And for startups and such. So I do a lot of work along those lines. There you go. And TED Talks. Been doing a lot of TED Talks lately.
Perfect. So anybody who wants to do a TED Talk?
That's right.
Go to Laura.
You find the pitch for a TV series the same as the movie, like the doing the pitch tech thing, the visual. Do you find that to be helpful?
Yes. Okay. So that's I will stay on, by the way. I'm not like, you don't have to stay. I'll stay on as long as there are questions. So let me go to speaker view so I can really see you. So yeah, so it used to be that I would say, people would say, should I go into a meeting with like a PowerPoint of visuals? And I would say, God, no, because the last thing you want is for them to be sitting there looking at a screen when you are in the room. And now this is all we do anyway. So now, yes, absolutely. Like I was always okay with you bringing visuals, just not on a device. There were too many ways for it to go wrong. But now we're all on devices and there's no reason not to. The key here, so the very short key here is that you want to use visuals that convey the feeling, the emotion of what you're saying, not words, right? Did you notice how many words were not on my thing? I was trying to teach you and there weren't even that many words, right? Mostly what you want to do is convey emotion.
Okay.
And so you don't want them to be reading it while you're talking, because they're not hearing you. They literally cannot read and hear. Your brain can only do one of those two things. But if you can convey, you know, love or fear or whatever with a visual while you're talking them through that moment in the story or in the TV series, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and ours is a comedy, so funny stuff, things like that.
Absolutely, totally funny stuff. Yeah.
What we're doing with Jay-Z. So we've got one for our horror, but we don't have one for our.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. As long as you're pitching via Zoom, you can totally do that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant. We will
Yeah.
put one together tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Awesome.
Okay. Look at all these questions. I'm so excited. You
Perfect.
guys
Thank you.
warmed up. I was
Right.
so worried at the beginning, but no, y'all warmed up. Good job. Anybody else? Like, I'm here. You're still here. You must have a question.
Okay, if nobody has any more questions, I have a question to everybody. First of all, I think we all agree that this was amazing. And again, the expectations were surpassed as you usually
welcome.
do,
You're all
Laura. That is clear. For our future webinars and workshops, I would love to, or we would love to hear your opinion. What you want to hear? What do you want to learn? What is interesting to you? Before we started this Zoom meeting, we had discussed that we actually know some stunt men and women and would maybe do a webinar about that. They talk about what it means to be a stunt woman and man and how that looks. So if that is something interesting,
Thank you.
raise
Brenna.
your hands, clap on everything. Yes, okay, we have 2 people at least that are interested. 3, thank you very much. 4, 5, oh my God, I feel like at an auction right now. So, but apart from that, if you have something that you say, wow, this pitch webinar was amazing. Now I want to go to the next step. I want to talk about how do I do visuals for a pitch, or how do I, whatever it is, let us know, email us, and we will find the people that can help us with that. And Laura already was like, before we started this, she was like, oh yeah, I know a stunt woman that does, what was it, sword fight?
She's a sword master. She's one of the few
Sword master.
female sword masters in Hollywood. Yeah. She's one of
Yeah.
like 3.
And
So-
Stephen Shaw was the stuntman of Burt Reynolds.
Mm.
His
Mhm.
only problem was that he was better looking than Burt Reynolds.
Yes, he was.
And you could devote an entire Zoom to him and his stories.
So,
Just be forewarned. There might have to be a
But you
not
should add
suitable for
Monty
work.
too,
Yeah.
because the 2 of them together are
It's a,
There you go.
it's a comedy team. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So please let us know what you're interested in, because this community thrives with your input. And if you say, hey, I have a friend, or I myself would like to speak about this and that.
And that's
Please do that.
networking. Like just that. Like she said, oh, hey, I need this. And I'm like, oh, I have someone who would be great for that. That's networking. Yay, look how it all comes together.
Right. We rehearsed that earlier. That's what happened. No, we didn't.
and the winner for the furthest, most far away distance login is Iris, who dialed in from Taipei in Taiwan. But it could
Wow.
be that Iris did fall asleep. I don't know what time it is.
No,
See-
I'm still awake. Thank you for this.
So this is how somebody from Taipei
Thank you.
sounds like.
Verena?
Yes, Nina?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, small
Right, go
talk is
ahead.
done. Let's go back to more professional wording. Nina, your turn.
Do you are you only looking for, not only for the stunt people, because like a lot of them are also in motion capture, and I'm in contact with really cool people, because they all make a lot of money right now in the video game area. Should I
Please.
see if
Yeah.
one of and a lot of the actors, they want to actually break into it, and there's a whole thing to it, what you need to be capable of in order to do that kind of
I
performance.
would love to have a conversation with you, Nina, because I think you as well would be a really good person to tell those stories. So yes, please.
Or motion
let's-
capture and virtual production stages would deserve its own slot, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we're gonna email.
Bring everything I did on color arts and MIT into the group.
Perfect. We can all benefit from that. More knowledge for all of us. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And then
All right,
Sandra
yes.
Lee throws everything she did at the LA Film School. Throw it in as well.
Yes, and Maya and Sandra.
Actually, hi
just raised
guys.
their
I
hands.
wanted to say something, even though I'm not German, I'm Swiss, so I'm neutral. And so I'm a producer, a film producer for international projects, but I'm also a yoga and a meditation teacher and coach. And I was just thinking it might be interesting, as we have lots of like creative types, if it would be interesting to have a workshop about, you know, how to tune into your intuition and how to rekindle that creativity or something. So if
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm happy. Speaking of pitching, I'm offering an home retreat, which is and then a capital OME retreat for people who need some political detox. So we're making like a 10-day retreat. Yes, where like every day you can tune in just for a few minutes to stay sane. And we promise not to talk about politics or anything, you know, no blaming, no negativity, just pure, I'm gonna wrap you in a blanket of good feelings. So if anybody wants to know.
Great.
I think we all need that during these times.
We're all
so
in.
Yes, yes. All right, we're gonna reach out to you
I
too.
put my email in the chat. If you're, you know,
Perfect.
know more about it, then join me.
And Katrin also just put our email in the chat. So anybody that wants to, that just has not talked to us yet, wants to say something, come up with an idea, please email us for sure. All right. And Sandra, you raised your hand as well, right? Sandra Lee?
Sorry, I was just waving at Jay-Z.
Oh, you had your separate conversation here. Okay, side talking. No side talking. No, just kidding.
Sandra is
All right.
is a film professor at the LA Film School, so that we all know. Yeah. She
Wonderful.
also
Okay.
has good input for us.
Okay, yeah. Let us know and we'll make some more webinars happen. So thank you all for tuning in and for staying longer. Also, Laura, thank you for staying
Not at
longer.
all. And Sandra, if you want to use the thing that you're going to get tomorrow on Loglines, if you want to use that with your students, just feel free. Like,
Cool. Thank you.
anything you need to do.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you all
Thank you
for
for
this
having
wonderful
me.
evening.
This was so fun.
Thanks, Laura. Woo!
Thank you. Yes, clapping. We can clap. Yes.
Great.
Thank you so much. Woo!
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. See you all soon.
Wiedersehen. Bis bald.
Haut rein.